Welcome to XM.com for this Forex Preview video. We'll be having a look at UK data coming up this week and the outlook for the pound. I'm Cristina Marujos. With me today is lead investment analyst Rafi Boyedjian. We've seen a hawkish Bank of England recently, but not hawkish enough considering we only saw a 25 basis points rate hike instead of a 50 basis points one. The calendar this week holds a lot of data for us. December employment numbers are out on Tuesday, followed by inflation numbers for January on Wednesday, and finally, January retail sales are out on Friday. What are we likely to see in the numbers, Rafi, and could they add more policymakers on the hawkish bandwagon?
Well, Christina, it is indeed going to be a very busy week for UK data, as you mentioned, Bank of England there. And so markets are kind of wondering where the Bank of England is going with its rate hikes because, like I said, they were hawkish, but not quite hawkish enough for some investors. So the data will be important in terms of giving us fresh update on where the UK economy stands, because we did get, of course, the Omicron wave at the end of last year, and that's expected to have had some kind of an impact on the labour market. We're expecting jobs growth to have slowed in the 3 months to December. The unemployment rate probably held steady at 4.1%. And wage growth is going to be interesting because although the labour market has been tightening over the past year or so, or at least in the second half of last year, we've yet to see much of pass-through of that through wage growth numbers. In fact, we're expecting to see average weekly earnings to slow a little bit from 4.2 to 3.9% in December. Now, let's have a look at the inflation data, because that might be much more crucial, because in the coming months we're expecting to see CPI numbers power ahead because of that lifting of the energy price cap. And so UK households will likely see a big jump in their energy bills. For the time being, though, we are likely to see a bit of a moderation in this surge in inflation. The headline rate probably held steady at 5.4% in January. We might see core CPI edge up a little bit to 4.3%. But like I said, any reprieve is likely to be temporary, and it's going to be much more interesting to see what's going to be happening from April and onwards. And finally, quick mention of retail sales. We're probably going to get a little bit of a bounce back in January, because back in December, of course, from the Omicron restrictions, retail sales took a big nosedive. So we should see a little bit of recovery in January. So overall, the data should be fairly solid. I mean, we could see some positive surprises, some negative surprises there as well. On the whole, I think positive surprises will likely have a much more impact in terms of reinforcing the Bank of England's confidence in the economy and moving ahead with its planned rate hikes. On the other hand, if you do get any softness, it's probably not going to derail the rate hike path that the Bank of England is expected to follow.
Now let's also have a look at the pound. Essentially, it's been holding steady recently. Could the data this week give it a boost?
So it is possible that we could get a bit of a boost for sterling should we get a solid set of data this week. On the whole, though, I think given that markets are currently pricing in 6 rate hikes for the Bank of England, which is pretty aggressive. And we did have that press conference from Governor BoE where he was a little bit more cautious, although on the whole, the bank seems to agree with the market pricing. BoE was quick to point out that there are downside risks to inflation. I think it's hard for sterling to really compete against the likes of the US dollar when markets are also pricing in with the rate hikes from the Fed. So a lot is going to depend on what happens to inflation in the UK over the next 2 months, particularly from April onwards, where we're going to see that big surge in energy prices. So unless there's some real change there that's going to get the Bank of England thinking again in terms of whether it needs to be more aggressive than what Carly plans to, then it's going to be difficult for sterling to really gain much positive traction because much of it has already been priced into the markets.
Rafi, thank you for joining me today, and thank you for watching this Forex Preview on UK data here at XM.com.